Yeah, call the meeting to order. First things on the agenda is approval minutes, February 4 and 16.
I'll make a motion to approve both sets of minutes with a minor adjustment. And the, which minutes is it? In the February 4th, on Thursday, that was a special meeting and not a regular meeting. I think the minutes say special, say regular meeting.
Regular, yeah.
And
I also forgot to put the date on it.
That's all right.
Whatever.
I missed that one.
Make sure we're paying attention.
And in the February 16th meeting, just for clarification, it says that Route 4 paving, it's, the work will be done between routes 125 and 7. So instead of on, it should say between.
Yeah, like that work will be done on Route 4 from routes 125 to Route 7 are the same.
Yeah, somehow just making it specific that we understand. So
Just say on Route 4, I'll make it
just some
look
minor
good.
Yeah,
clarification.
because otherwise it looks like they're working on 125 and Route 7. And then I'll second that motion. But I also wanted to add to that same Route 4 paving that I asked if the route could be constructed as a complete street, since it is part of the Western New England Greenway.
Okay.
Because if they're gonna pave Route 4, I just asked if Gordon could check on if it could be a complete street, which would have wider shoulders and whatnot for biking and pedestrians, so hopefully they might have more information on that later.
Yeah. There'll be any Western New England.
Western New England Greenway, is that what it's
Greenway,
called
yeah.
officially?
Sounds right. Okay, so
That was it.
all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended? Aye. See, this agenda, I had three. One is the van with Goshen youth soccer and Route 4 paving. Are there any other additions? Is there a second to add those?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment?
Well, communications.
Oh, communications.
I just had one communication from someone on Bradford Road who was concerned about, so road runoff that was coming off the road going through a diversion pipe, then onto their land, which they felt was flooding their property. And they
Okay.
wanted to just talk to someone about how to mitigate that or stop it from
Yeah.
happening so that they could more use the land more
Sure, I mean, I know,
efficiently, and I sent them to Karen. I said, I'm
Or
gonna go
Karen
talk to
or-
Karen in the Wetlands Commission and how to,
well, our Jim, Highway Department, we have done some work for people up there. And the problem is the road is low, it has stone walls on each side, so it doesn't drain the way a properly engineered road would. I mean, it's an ancient road, so it's
Right.
down in the dip the way a lot of them are. But, yeah,
maybe talk
who's
to
the
Jim
person?
too. Charlotte Van Dorn.
Charlotte, so
So it sounded like
Charlotte
the
and
drainage
Adam.
was on the other side of their
So just have them right,
property, came down, and then it went in a culvert across the road and exited onto their property.
okay,
So they couldn't use it to hay or feed the animals or
Ah.
whatever.
have her just write me a note, and then I can go up and look at it with Jim at some point.
Okay.
Right. Okay, any other communications? Let's see, public comment? Public?
Do you know what's going on with Nash Pond? It's completely drained.
Yeah, I know there, I believe Karen has been up there looking at it, and there may be some, what's the right word? There may be a leak in the dam somewhere, so
So,
she has alerted the dam safety unit again, and they were supposed to get out here this year and they hadn't. I know the owners have retained an engineer, because of the inquiries about that issue. So, and the good news is because it's completely drained, it's
Right.
not it can't do much,
Right.
whereas if it was having this problem, so with a full dam, it's much more serious than an empty dam. So I know Karen's onto it and she's, talking to the state and as well as the engineer. So it was good that the owners had hired somebody to look into it, so I know she's
Yeah.
on the trail.
Oh, yeah, 'cause it's real low. I've never seen it
Right,
as low as it is now.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
It
apparently
could
what's
be a
going
good
on.
sign that, I mean,
Huh?
with it being low now, they'll do some repairs, possibly
Right.
Well,
repairs.
easier, right, oh, yeah,
Right, yeah, so I know it's on the radar.
okay.
Any other public comments? Let's see. First thing is Department of Justice complaint. Had a little project with Town Attorney Pearlie Grimes. He drafted up this letter for me to sign, which I did send out on Monday, about the Department of Justice statewide complaint about access to voting. So, anyway, we got good cooperation from our registrars, town clerk, trying to say that this is how we use, what machines we use for which votes, and it's all prescribed by the state of Connecticut. And Pearlie's been in touch with his counterparts throughout the state so that we sent this, and we also signed up to the letter that was drafted by the attorney from West Hartford. And so, and referred all this, hopefully they'll talk to the Secretary of State and the Attorney General, because they're probably getting 169 towns to say basically the same thing, which is a big waste of money for people. Not, even if there's legitimate concerns, complaints, issues, then it should be discussed at a state level. What I've heard is the state may come up with another type of voting machine. I don't know. Anyway, so we've met our obligation. They did give the towns another month extension to respond, but I would rather just send it off, get it done, on to the next
Sure.
bigger issue. So that hopefully is.
It is a curiosity that we don't know who's making the
Right.
accusation.
And I'm not sure who's seen the complaint, but
Or they-
Where?
Doesn't sound
we
like
don't-
anyways.
Nobody has, they
Right.
won't tell us who it is.
Right, yeah.
We don't know which town it's from.
right.
It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
kinda
kind of a
weird.
curiosity.
Even that was the one where they had the meeting where people showed up and some were on the phone, and
Right.
it was just like a long drawn out thing that, I don't know,
Right.
still
So-
didn't sound like they got anything settled, so.
Right. Yeah, all right, so that's the Department of Justice. Onto the highway garage alarm. I sent the two quotes to Stan Macmillan, the fire marshal. His recommendation on the 23rd of February was to go with the less expensive bid, which was Northwest Alarm, Jim Graham, who also does this building here. And Stan felt that the upgrade would meet our needs, and what he suggested was that we ask Mr. Graham whether we can, apparently you can hook up a cell phone service to this, so you don't have to have a dedicated line or something, is the latest
You
thing.
can,
Dial-in.
it can go Wi-Fi or it could go cell service.
Right.
Yeah, whichever you decided to do, but there probably isn't much cell service down there. You might be able to go Wi-Fi if you jumped it off. Is the transfer station, do they have Wi-Fi
Right.
there? You might be
I don't
able to
know.
jump it off
Yeah.
of that. I can't imagine there's good enough cell service.
Could
to
be,
it.
will be, should be, soon.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll call back. I haven't heard, well,
Could
it's an
be.
aside, but I haven't heard anything that is an issue as far as when is the Popple Swamp Tower coming on. So, anyway,
Yeah, that would certainly
I
help
think
there.
that's a ways out,
But
so.
I think what they were I think he was talking Wi-Fi though, not cell service, was
Right.
he? I thought Northwestern one was talking about jumping off a Wi-Fi signal off of the transfer station.
But the Wi-Fi at the transfer station's gotta be coming from the garage, isn't it?
no. I don't think he mentioned it. He talks about having telephone interfacing with a digital communication direct link to our central station.
Yeah, I know they can do it via cell phone. I don't know that the cell phone service is strong enough down there right
Right.
now. It may be in the future.
Right, so, anyway, I'll make a motion to accept the proposal from Northwest Alarm and Security Systems LLC to upgrade the alarm system at the town garage. Is there a second?
Second that? We're gonna get clarification on
On
the outgoing communication.
Right. Yep. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Let's see. Also, last week I had a productive conference call with Connecticut OSHA, who have reduced our penalties by 40%. That's the maximum. They said that they could reduce them because they get audited by federal OSHA and they can't reduce fines apparently any more than 40%. He did like the way that we have solved most of the issues. And so the fine will go from $31.40 to $17.34. And we have some more things to go on. And he is going to have a agent come out in March and go through the building again with Jim, go over the training requirements. So we would get onto the voluntary program. And Jim's going to some program also in March to see what the requirements are. So,
Is that like a yearly thing that they put
Yeah.
out?
yeah. And then we'll do a final wrap-up. So what Mr. Tucker would like is an informal settlement, which says we resolved these issues, and we amended the penalties, and life goes on.
Move that resolution.
Right.
And this is
I
an
move that Gordon can sign that
informal settlement
resolution.
agreement? What
Informal.
defines formal versus informal?
Coat and tie, I don't know what the difference is. They have their own way of,
Work
They have their own-
groups, fancy shoes.
they have their own vocabulary. So, I think,
What does it say right
We're
here?
formally agreeing to the
The
informal.
informal settlement,
This
so
is-
the amended settlement.
We're
this is
formally agreeing to the informal settlement agreement.
the original informal settlement document, as opposed to the, yeah,
Oh, amended, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's amended.
the amended informal original agreement. Right. Okay, so there's a motion that I can sign this and
You made that motion?
resolve this in a
I seconded it,
cooperative.
or you, I'll second
Nobody
that?
seconded
Right.
it.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is done.
That's right up there with the Department of Justice.
Sure.
Right there. Okay. Next is road safety audit. I got a email from Rick Lynn reminding the towns in the COG that the deadline for this road safety audit program was coming up and was last Tuesday, and
I think it's today, isn't it?
is it today?
Yeah, March 1st.
It's today. So, anyway, this did come up at our economic summit. It's been a long time thing about the intersection Route 4 and Route 7, and it seemed like a perfect opportunity to get DOT out here to look at some of the issues that are there. It's a day-long conference. Did you guys get this
Yeah.
little flyer?
Do we have to pick where they want them to go? Like, would they not go to West Cornwall and look
Well,
at
we-
128 at the bridge?
I just applied for Cornwall Bridge in 4 and 7. And I have no idea, this is a new program, how competitive this is. But it felt like that's sort of like
First
the
step.
first step. And so I think it would be good, because I've seen recently out there on our highways, these new crossings that are out there. There's one by Mountainside, there's another one by Hotchkiss that light up the sky. So
Yeah,
that's
they're big.
they're big, they're bold.
Don't know if it's
But
gonna
they're-
make any difference, but.
Well, it's solar powered. It would definitely make a difference at night when you see those flashing lights. So, but they're light bars. I mean, and just, I'd be curious whether that would be appropriate.
I think
And-
sometimes just the striping in the road too, more
Right.
than the lights, because you're just driving and you can see what's ahead of you. You see the white striping and the triangles. What are those for?
And this
As
whole thing
opposed to these
about
tall signs with lights that are only on when people are actually crossing.
right, but also the whole thing of realigning the road potentially, teeing up the intersection, more parking, the market. I mean, there's a bunch of different stuff that the guys with the
Certainly one of the simplest things that they could do is put the red bands coming down the posts on
on
each
the
stop
post-
sign.
Yeah,
On the stop sign like Litchfield has.
Yeah, and
to
it's
reinforce them.
to reinforce the
Right.
visibility of them, it would make
Yeah.
them much more
They have to
visible.
be pretty cheap because they just sit right on top of the existing
Right.
post.
They just
right?
bolt,
Yeah.
they're bolted up
they're
with
bolted
maybe
right
3 or
on.
4
It's not a
bolts.
new post or anything.
No.
They just-
No, it's gotta be relatively
And they're
Right,
expensive.
bunch of tape.
One,
Reflective
2,
duct
3
tape.
of them. get
I mean, I think that would be the simplest and most immediate and
Right.
least expensive that could happen next
Achievable.
week.
Achievable,
That's
results.
immediately achievable,
right.
and whatever other alternatives or possibilities are, but at least that is something that the state is starting to do. I've seen it, you've seen it in Litchfield, I've seen it in Falls Village, at the 7 and 63, is it that stop sign?
Mhm.
So the state is putting them up.
Right. Okay, so anyway, we'll hear, we may or may not get the program, but at least we applied. Keep going with that. Next is fire truck tanker. The bid specifications were approved by the fire department at their monthly meeting last week. So the next thing to do is to write a cover letter to get together with the truck committee and get some of the boilerplate out there as far as times, dates, specifications, right to reject any and all bids, insurance, that kind of thing. So what I'd like to do is get authorization to work with the truck committee and get send the truck out to bid. They seem to know the size, construction of the tanker.
So moved. I'll authorize you to work with the truck committee to put that out to bid. Now, we
Right.
need the specifications is it's gonna come back within,
Right, probably a month.
30 to 40
Yeah.
days.
And then it takes them a long time,
6 months.
6 months to, oh yeah, I think it's a year or more, to actually build these things. So then, and then we would go out to bid and say we'd sign the contract after the May town meeting, because we don't actually have the money approved yet, but they're used to dealing with municipalities. So, a lot of times these prices are good for 90 days or something.
And then we'll actually have a final
Right,
price.
we'll have a
on it.
number, and if we have more or less, then we can appropriate that as part of the budget process.
And they send it out to just like the standard 2 or 3 big
Well,
truck companies.
Yeah, the question is whether they go to preferred vendors, or whether they just put it out there, then make people meet the specifications.
Mhm.
Not sure how that's all Okay,
Second that, yeah.
any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. We heard back from Eversource, that they are glad to hear we're interested in the property in West Cornwall, pursuing purchase, proposal, again, subject to town meeting approval. And they have to notify, the DEP has right of first refusal, so the first thing is they have to notify DEP, see if the DEP wants to go for it, which they haven't in the past, but maybe they would. Anyways, that's the first step, and then setting up some appraisal process. And then still communicate with HVA and move that project along and see how that, the parking lot, boat access, how that affects all this.
So is it your understanding that Eversource is in fact getting in touch with DEP?
Yeah. That's the next step.
And that they are actually possibly even doing that?
Yeah, yeah. No, they've got a good person in the real estate office now.
In
Actually,
Eversource?
Eversource actually lives in South Kent, so I will call him and keep the fire burning. No, I think he wants to get it done. So, okay, so that's just an update. Tax refunds, we've got $563.25 for refunds for various overpayments. I won't say there's a member of the Board of Finance who's generous enough to make a duplicate payment of his real estate tax, but mistakes happen, and so we're glad to give these refunds when people overpay, unlike some other municipalities. So I make a motion that we give the $536.25 of refunds back to our taxpayers for overpayment of real estate taxes.
Not right.
I don't know that one. I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Next is additions, Goshen van. Let's see, our senior van, Bob Valentine, first selectman, Goshen, called up, said he wants to go down to DOT Newington with me on March 15th or 16th and take a look at some of the models that meet their grant spec, apparently. Also to meet with the transit district to understand how the reimbursement grants work and what we need to do. So I just thought I'd let you know we're pursuing that as one of our long-term things. The spring is coming, and so I'll be motoring down to DOT Newington and give you a report at the next meeting. See what's going on. Some enthusiasm. People are looking forward to it. See what happens. Okay, that's the van. We'll also at our next meeting we'll have a presentation. Probably have a presentation from John Sanders from Park and Rec. The Northwest Soccer League wants to establish Cornwall as its home base for doing its soccer. This used to be Berkshire United, now it's Northwest United or something like that. They would use foot fields and reactivate using Hubbard Field as a soccer field for U11. So, exciting idea. Apparently they're willing to share with some of the maintenance costs of the fields. Cornwall's held to have central location, and apparently according to John, there's actually more Cornwall kids playing soccer than any other town. And quite a few of the weekend kids play also, so it's something.
They use the two fields,
Yeah.
foot fields?
Right.
in the third field,
They'd set up a third foot field, they'd set up Hubbard Field for U11,
for the third field.
yeah. So,
That's exciting.
yeah. So anyway, so he's coming forward with that. Route 4 paving, I did talk to, contact in DOT and, told him about the complete street idea, and he said, yes, they may consider, they can shrink the lane somewhat and make the shoulders wider, is what they're looking at doing.
So it'd be like they did on 202 in Litchfield,
I mean, I haven't
where
seen
they
that.
didn't, they did it last year, they didn't widen the road,
Right,
but they shrunk the travel lane and
Right.
made the shoulder wider by
Uh-huh.
whatever it was, 6,
Okay.
8 inch, 12 inches.
yeah. Right, cars are getting smaller, hopefully.
Right. So when they say, yes, we will consider that, what does that mean? Do we need to move forward with that as they ramp up and start actually paving, or?
He said he was gonna, look into it and get back to me, so. So anyway, I'll call him up next week. So we'll see what happens.
Do they have a time frame on when they anticipate paving?
I assume it's next summer, but I'll find out.
I mean, next summer being 4 or 5 months from now.
Right. Yeah,
Next summer, 2016.
Well, as opposed to next summer 2017.
2017, right.
right,
You never know.
The way things are going. Well, they're still probably doing the plan, I'm sure they're doing the planning,
yeah,
trying to figure
the
out
specs.
the specs and
Yeah.
changing all the basin heads, whatever they have to do,
Right,
so.
okay, but anyway, it'd be nice to get that fixed up.
I wonder if it's as simple as just moving the shoulder lines in.
That's all that they did in Litchfield, so you would drive down the road and you could see where the old lines were. It was a solid white line, and then for like 2 months, they had these dashed white lines.
Uh-huh,
So I don't know if it was so people could get used to it, being a more narrow travel lane,
yep,
and then next thing you know, the solid white lines disappeared and the dashed lines became the solid white line.
huh,
And the shoulders were that much wider.
Well, if
From
they,
202,
Did they
from
repave?
From Torrent, they didn't repave.
they just
It was from
relined.
Torrington all the way through to Bantam. They just relined.
Okay,
the thing here would be is if they're paving, there'd be no lines to go with, so they could just
go
move them
for it.
in
Right,
immediately.
but the thing is, like, so they don't wanna take that pavement and make it any wider, cause that's gonna cost them more money to do all that
Right, and they probably may.
subsurface, the base to make that pavement that much wider, so they'll just readjust the lines.
Right.
See what they got.
Seems to work there. I think the travel lane's a little narrow, but
Yeah. Okay, so any other public comments?
Clarification?
Clarification from the
Yes,
back room.
please. What part of Route 4 are you talking about and
Uh,
why?
They're doing Route 4 from Route 7 intersection of Cornwall Bridge to Route 125. So
And your concern is?
that they try to widen the shoulders because that's part of the Western New England Greenway Bikeway thing. So it would give more room for bicyclists on the roadside.
And the van, is that for seniors?
Primarily, yes.
And you're getting a grant to,
Yeah, we were awarded a grant with Goshen, we applied together. And Bob Valentine, to give him credit, really spearheaded it. Their senior committee said this was their top priority, was transportation for seniors. And they felt that because quite a few of the small towns like Colebrook and Norfolk and Washington, Roxbury maybe, combine and share a van, that the state actually likes that more than just giving it to one town. So we were successful in our application,
to whom?
DOT, and then so you get a grant that covers the purchase cost, and then there's supplemental grants to reimburse you for ridership. So we have to learn more about that, but it would be dispatched out of the Northwest Transit District, who also does the other senior vans and is part of the county. So it's exciting. I think, I know it's, apparently in other towns, it takes a while for people to get used to it, but they can also be used not just for doctor's appointments, but for shopping trips and flower shows and other social events. So,
It'll give some more personal service than sort of the bigger buses can do.
right, yeah, and it's, yeah. So anyway, it will be good.
Do you know how much the grant's for?
It's about 55,000, I believe, to cover the cost.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask about the railing?
The railing, yes.
Any word from OSHA on that?
Yeah, we went back and forth on that. But yeah, we have to come up with some plan by April or 21st, or maybe we got an extension to May to get it in and talk to Paul and get something that's practical to fix it. Basically, I think thought is probably extend the wood that's there now.
Plexiglass all
Yeah.
around.
It's just a chicken wire, but that might be a little
Right.
rough.
If you did something like black wrought iron, it wouldn't show, it wouldn't make it look
Yeah,
higher than, it just would look out of proportion if you extended the wood.
it might, but not a lot of people spend that much.
No.
Who goes up there?
Doesn't matter.
It's me, I think, yeah.
Right.
What if someone does?
And it's like 8 inches or something. So it basically looks like a double top on it.
Yeah, it looks like it was already extended at one time.
Yeah, were they only worried about height, not about
Yeah, the length.
space between
Yeah.
balusters? They weren't worried about that?
No,
Really, just height?
for now.
For now, yeah.
Wait for next time.
Till next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's what I'm saying, exactly. Kids could still go through there.
Yeah, well, I tell you the whole story. When this was the library, when we were younger, that's where the displays for the Historic Society, before they went down the street, they were up there. So we would go up the circular stairs and then we'd run around and they had all these World War I even think they had guns and helmets, gas masks, and they had stuffed animals up there. They had all this great stuff. And so we'd just go around and whip around there. And
But nobody died. did
nobody
they?
fell off, even though we had gas masks on.
Nobody fell through.
Nobody fell through.
Over the top.
Pretty much
Yep.
knew to stay away from it because it's dangerous.
That's it, yeah. Somehow we all
Because your
survived.
mother said, be careful, and you were.
Take care, put gas masks on, have fun.
Best place to
Yeah. Anyway, so we survived. But that was then. Okay, so next thing is bill payments. Okay, thank you all for coming.
Where, how much on the land down West Cornwall?
It's like 3 acres, right, due south of the West Cornwall Library.
Okay, that's it.